The second segment in the Mayday series has to do with three circumstances: the malicious situation, the depression of the emergency button, and an open microphone. Again, reviewing the definition and context of malicious in this circumstance, we're talking specifically about the human intent to inflict harm or the potential to inflict harm to a first responder. With this policy in particular, we're looking to define a systematic approach to how to handle these life-threatening circumstances that are purposefully caused by another human being. This policy is also coupled with the depression of the emergency button and an active open microphone on any radio. Talking procedure. When a firefighter or EMS provider encounters a circumstance with malicious intent or potentially malicious intent, an imminent threat is presented to the provider. At this point, they will try to alert the fire dispatcher directly when able. We understand that who, what, where, might not be most appropriate in this circumstance to alert the dispatcher of the circumstance. One opportunity is to push the emergency button in an attempt to seek help. Another opportunity is to depress the microphone and maintain an open microphone as long as possible. When looking to describe a circumstance of an emergency with malicious intent to the dispatcher, plain English is preferred for describing the emergency if able to use it. Continuing on the procedure, the responder may only have the ability to push the emergency button. Plain English might not be available. When the emergency button is provided or depressed, there will be 10 seconds of uninterrupted airtime on the channel that the radio is currently on. For example, if the radio is on fire dispatch, there will be 10 seconds of uninterrupted airtime on that channel. If the radio is on an ops channel, the same will hold true for those channels. In either circumstance, the Communications Bureau, the incident commander, and those on scene should all listen intently to the full 10 seconds of uninterrupted airtime. There should be no interruptions during that period of time, as it's our opportunity to gain as much information about the extent of the emergency as possible. In the event that the emergency continues past the 10 seconds, the dispatcher's opportunity to raise the unit now exists. This should take place in the form of the Communications Bureau addressing the unit exclusively by their unit number with no other words in an attempt to raise them. For example, we have an emergency from Rescue 229. The 10 seconds has passed, during which you hear fumbling in the background but no discernible words. The emergency continues past the 10 seconds. The dispatcher will say 229. In the event that 229 was not having an emergency and is intently listening to the radio during their alarm, they can answer the radio and say 229, go ahead. At this point, the dispatcher can understand that there is no emergency, and they can identify that either the emergency button has been depressed or that 229 has an open microphone. In the event that 229 does not answer the radio, the dispatcher should attempt to raise the unit twice verbally. If the unit does not answer, the supervisor of the unit should be notified via the situation via phone. Two examples. The first, an emergency button is depressed. At this point, there's 10 seconds of uninterrupted listening only, during which there's no discernible voice, only fumbling. After the 10 seconds, the emergency button remains active, and the dispatcher will give the unit number twice. 1671. 1671. No answer. At this point, the dispatcher will notify the highest ranking officer or the chief of the agency and start law enforcement. At this point, if there is no emergency and a chief officer or junior officer answers the radio, they can advise that they are all set and it was an accident. Law enforcement can be canceled and the alarm or job can continue as it had before. In a second example. For this example, this is an extended microphone key with no appreciable audio. In other words, the responder keys up their mic for 10 plus seconds with no discernible audio. 1671. 1671. Still with no answer back from the unit. The dispatcher will then follow the same procedure of notifying the highest ranking officer and start law enforcement. Car 16 in this circumstance is unable to raise the unit by phone and advises to continue law enforcement until the emergency or open mic is cleared.